Objection!
Hello everyone, how's everyone's day? Wish you all a great time. On today's occasion I want to talk about Zenless Zone 0 or ZZZ. As everyone knows, ZZZ is the newest game from the Hoyoverse, and while it has been released for some time, I just recently got interested in downloading and playing the game. It just never really got into me to play the game, and I already got Genshin that I daily play. So ZZZ just never really catch my attention, and I have to say that I make a very big mistake. ZZZ is really good, probably best of all Hoyoverse game by a very huge margin. Before we talk about details, as usual this is not a review, and just my personal subjective experience playing the game, and I probably will not cover everything regarding the game. Now that's out of the way, let's talk about the game. So about how I got into the ZZZ, and why I haven't played is quite complicated. But basically I'm just never a big fan of the city and Hoyoverse game. They all feel bland and not interesting. In my time playing Genshin, the city is probably one of the worst aspects of the game, and I never really liked them, so a whole new Hoyoverse game that stars an entire urban city does not catch my eyes. Until recently when I went to my friend's place and we chatted, he played ZZZ. I like to tease my friend, so I thought it will be a good surprise if I secretly start ZZZ and suddenly can give him advice while pretending to never touch the game. And not gonna lie, some of the characters' design choice very interest me. With that very impure motivation I download and start the game. Since then I have spent almost daily playing the game, and probably have reached almost 100 hours of game time. The game is just so good that it just keeps making me play it. One of the game's biggest strengths and attractions is combat. It flows so smoothly, and very flashy, making me want to try different combinations and tactics. While the combat has many improvements compared to Genshin, and explaining all of them will literally take a video, and I'm probably not the best person to explain it. I will just say that the biggest reason why the combat is so good is the movement in battle. In Genshin, the character is very movement, and position is stagnant and did not move much from one point of position to another unless you, the player, manually change it. Which not ideal due to many of Genshin character ability are putting a buff field on the ground, so to get the best result, the player is tied to a certain part of the ground. But in ZZZ the characters can often do follow-up and counter that move the fight to different position, from left to right, to behind the enemy, the character able to flow so freely. So even if you are thrown away by the enemy you can easily change character, and already in front of them again to restart your attack. This flowing combat movement not only fastens the battle pace, but it refreshes the battle experience, making the fight so much more engaging. Not counting the character's special skill that some use from far away, and some makes the player go behind the enemy. The battle becomes so much more interesting and fun, even thought grinding the same material or fighting the same enemy, which can easily result in burned out. Thanks to the movement and complemented with excellent camera works, all of the fight feels very fresh. And the more compelling character unique skills that each character has give ZZZ combat a lot more fun compared to Genshin, where 90% of the character is just press E or Q then switch to, so you can press your mouse left click 1,000 times, then repeat till enemy die or you lose. In ZZZ character unique skills have different activation that makes you have to think when crafting a team, and more importantly when you control them. This makes the character roster in ZZZ truly distinctive, and not just the same character, but different skin in Genshin. Talking about experiment, the game incentivizes players to use all the characters due to different elements of the enemy, supported with plenty of characters that can fit on a role, so the player is not forced to use the same character for eternity to get the best result. Instead, players still able to pick their favorite team or new character that they want to try without getting punished too hard by the game. Meanwhile in Genshin you just use Bennett Q like it's version 1.0, or use Raiden for energy recharge because no one else can fit their role. Seriously, Genshin should diversify their gameplay more. As someone who has played the game since its release, it saddens me to see how Genshin is basically the same after all these years, while ZZZ able to give plenty of diverse gaming experience, where everything actually built with player enjoyment and thought. Moving on to animation, it's a clear winner, and I don't think I need to spend the next 15 minutes gushing over how much better ZZZ animation is compared to Genshin, so I'm gonna focus on the presentation of the story. In Genshin the story uses the 3D model rendered in the overworld, meanwhile in ZZZ the 3D model is rendered in 2D background and visual novel style. This works so much better than Genshin because the 3D in Genshin for NPC looks absolutely terrible. They look ugly, very bland, and just uninteresting in general due to more NPC inhabiting the world in Genshin, so they prioritize quantity over quality. Meanwhile in ZZZ, the NPC have more animation and moving body parts. They clearly have more resources put into them than Genshin NPC. The 2D background in ZZZ story also fasten the dialogue and story compared to Genshin. Cause in Genshin they oftentimes when character just stand there without dialogue reacting to a conversation where they have to change the camera. In ZZZ, since pretty much all character that will talk in the same screen, the overall conversation move are so much faster. Since I'm already talking about conversation, I will just jump to one of the biggest problems for Genshin players, which is the dialogue. The game dialogue is just so bad and so very long. In all my Genshin experience, I only feel Foreigner's final moments in the only good dialogue. I just want the Genshin character to shut up and stop talking nonsense. Either say something good or don't even bother. Meanwhile in ZZZ, the dialogue is actually so much shorter and they are actually very interesting. They cover how the world works, how each faction interacts, and even stories about NPC. It actually makes me want to know what they want to say and how the world of New Eridu in ZZZ functions. Even if you dislike the story and dialogue, never fear because they implement a skip button. Yes, ZZZ have a skip button. That alone already makes their story 100 times better than whatever Genshin story. Like seriously Genshin, get a skip button or get a better dialogue. I don't want to spend 30 minutes playing your game to hear terrible dialogue. Either make the player want to hear it, or let the player not hear it. It's that simple. People have been asking since day one, talking about the story. Since I am still quite early in ZZZ, I will refrain from saying much since comparing stories that have gone years and ones that have not gone for 1 year is horrible, but so far I like how ZZZ portrays the main character. Instead of making them like superhuman, that can solve all problems, they feel more like humans, that have their own limit. It makes me want to root for them. Also I just want to say something that I really hate about Genshin is how the NPC feels so incompetent and useless and unable to do anything if the main character is not there. It breaks the entire illusion of how grand the world of Teyvat, cause the people just never do anything without the traveler. It feels so forced how the writer made them just so the traveler can be a hero. Make them overcome adversities. That's how you make people like your main character. If they already Mr. Perfect since they won, then it's kinda boring. Now for music, I will say they both resulted in a draw. While I enjoy both of their music, it's really hard to say who got it better cause they both have a lot of forgettable music, but when the music hits, they are both really good. Genshin has more variety genres due to the nature of the game where players traverse to many lands, so each music represents each land while ZZZ is centralized in a city. But overall has a more catchy tune. They both are great at their own field. I will just say that Genshin is probably lagging a bit behind ZZZ cause Burnus music exists. I really like the Farina City theme, where the violin takes the center, and I like how they are very different genres than the other cities' theme, but they are different not for the sake of being different. They try to portray Farina and her love for theater. Meanwhile ZZZ pre-battle theme just easily gets your attention, easily perks you up, and makes you ready for battle. So both music is in their own realm, and manage to portray their world. Now for the world itself. It's gonna be a bit more complicated to compare because Genshin is open world, while ZZZ is segmented to many small different districts. Now for the world itself. It's gonna be a bit more complicated to compare because Genshin is open world, while ZZZ is segmented to many small different districts. For comparison, one city in Teyvat can probably hold several different districts of ZZZ. While I enjoy Genshin open world style, sometimes they can feel empty, or filled with things that did not catch attention, and never have any reason to use and explore. Meanwhile in ZZZ, since the district is so much smaller, they have a more lively and bustling atmosphere. But if I come to the conclusion that ZZZ City is better, then it will be very unfair, since when the city in Genshin hits, it really hits good. And since ZZZ only take place in one city, there are not much design or theme variety, and sometimes they can blur with each other. So far I would say that the city of New Eridu and ZZZ are so much more convenient than Teyvat due to their close proximity of each other. But we all know the world in both games is not only filled with cities, there's also dungeons and fields that are full with enemies, and in the Genshin case, since they are open world, they also have fields that players can explore. For fields in Genshin, some of them can be really pretty and fun to explore. I say some because the majority are just empty and interesting fields, with little to no reward to explore or just plain unfun to traverse. For dungeons, both are pretty linear with almost always the same theme, with Genshin being some kind of cave and ZZZ being a random ruin building. They usually do not have much hurdle, with only simple switch puzzles for the player to solve. But I will say I like playing in ZZZ dungeons more than Genshin cause how much more smaller they are than Genshin cause. I can easily jump in and out of battle in ZZZ instead of in Genshin. I have to spend like 3 minutes walking at some random cave staring at traveler's ass and spamming run button while walking, and hear Pman doing monologue that no one care. Alas, we cannot talk about dungeons without talking about enemies, since they are the biggest hurdle that players need to overcome, so they have a very critical role to shine in their own way. So far Genshin have better enemies in terms of variety, design, and gimmick, especially the bosses. For example, the enemy has different weapons, elements, and forms. Especially the bosses who can transform and have a whole new pattern and gimmick. While in ZZZ, it's mostly just hollow enemies, where players just hit hard, don't die, and kill the enemy. But I will put a disclaimer. Genshin is in version 5 and have run for very long, so it able to develop more, while ZZZ is still in version 1 and have not reached 1 year. I expect some fun and more interesting for ZZZ in the future. Since we are talking about enemies, we might as well talk about the biggest part of the gacha game, the material farming for character. A good farming can make or break a gacha game, since the player will spend hours strategizing and playing this part. So far the resources that need to be farmed are quite identical, with only small changes in number and names like in Genshin. It's mostly identical with only small changes, so far not much different on both games. But ZZZ have two very important new features that blast Genshin away. The first is accessibility and location. Unlike in Genshin, where farming location is spread out from one corner of the world to another corner, all of ZZZ farming can be accessed from one same menu, so player can easily choose what to farm. All dungeon, bosses, and material stage can be accessed with the same menu. Besides that, ZZZ farming is not locked behind time, so players can farm anything on any given time, unlike Genshin, where you can only farm specific items on specific time. The second feature is the ability to change enemy difficulty and number. With increased enemies, players can spend more stamina to get better drop rates, all in just one run. This feature has no limit or side effect. Players can decide if they want to do 20 stamina run or 60 stamina run, though I have no idea why you would do 20 stamina run. But the option is there, with that player able to finish their daily life faster and engage on other side content, or farm more stages. Meanwhile in Genshin, you are stuck to farm 20 stamina each run or find crystal, and exchange 20 stamina to get to the 40 resin item to run the dungeon, and you can only hold 5 of these items. Every single Genshin player hates this and thinks this feature is just way too convoluted. ZZZ allows you to jump straight to the battle without much procedure. All of this to give players a fun game time, and in return spend more time, and hopefully more money at the game down the line. Also a little info cause we talk about drop rates, since Genshin and ZZZ gacha is literally the same, but you can turn any of those bad artifact in ZZZ into resource that let you roll another artifact of your any choice without limit. You can even choose the main stats, and the best part is the resource is easy to get. Now for the other side of the most important to Highland in an RPG game, the characters. If a character is terrible in an RPG, then it will be very hard for the player to connect, which makes the player unable to empathize with any of the character's struggle. And that's what happens in Genshin. Now I'm getting a little bit ahead. Let me break it down into 3 parts. First, for the main character. The ZZZ protagonist is a sibling named Wise and Bell. They are siblings that run a video rental store, but secretly are the legendary proxy named Phaeton that helps people navigate another dimension that's very difficult to traverse. They both become an avatar for the player to see through their journey together as Phaeton. Meanwhile, in Genshin, it features a similar sibling relationship where players can choose who to control, but unlike in ZZZ, where the siblings work together, Genshin takes a more classic save the princess scenario, where each sibling is gone and you as another sibling have to search for them. While it kinda interesting as a premise, the way the story flow makes them lose so much of personality that ended up with the protagonist feels like an empty avatar for player to project that have no real or distinct personality, and become like it's just an excuse created by the developer to enforce player to go through to different region that's available and watch the story in that region. In ZZZ, while we control one of the siblings, we as players can really see the difference in each of their personalities, with Belle being the little sister, and more happy-go-lucky personality, and Wise being more calculated personality. While we controlled them, they did not feel like a blank template character. They feel like a fully made character that has story and background even before the story takes place, and the difference of their character actually impacts the dialogue and scene, which is a small feature but very appreciated by the player. While I can speak for another 20 minutes how ZZZ main character beat Genshin main character, I will just say that what makes ZZZ main character so compelling and much better because the story actually focus on them, while in Genshin the story of main character is basically nothing, and often sidelined for the regional story, and actual main stories of the siblings feels like a padding that they kinda forced to make cause they need to write a story for the main character. Next is the party member. These are the important characters that you met in the story, and usually you can get them from gacha. ZZZ have so many very interesting characters, each due to their colorful personality. It can be hard to explain them since they are all so different, from a biker to a maid, to building foreman, to singer. There are plenty of characters with fascinating stories. But the important part is the way I feel is how they did not feel annoyed, and try to act cool on the stupidest thing, cause that's how I feel in Genshin. Like every single character in that game, try to act cooler than each other or a little kid who keeps crying. And we might as well talk about NPC now, because what I feel in ZZZ and PC is the exact same thing. They are very colorful and different. There is a teapot robot who runs a cafe and dogs who run a newspaper stand. How cute that is. It feels like they actually live there and have their own thing to do with their own personality, unlike in Genshin, where every single NPC is just brain dead and keeps clapping while being impressed by any single thing that the party member does. Okay, I might get a little chaotic there, so I will try to rephrase it. So my general feeling of the party member, an NPC in ZZZ, is I'm incredibly happy with them due to their variety in terms of personality and design and how complex they are as individuals. That helps make the world of ZZZ feels alive and enjoyable for me. Let's go to one of the most controversial topics of this video, which is surprising since all this time I am basically bashing Genshin, where I expect people would get mad. This time I want to talk just a tiny bit regarding the voice acting of ZZZ. The game is available in Japanese, Chinese, Korean, and English just like in Genshin, and I would say just pick whichever that you like cause they are all pretty different. Personally, I found the English dub for ZZZ is very unstable in terms of quality. Some can be really good and some can be quite bad, so I just set the game in Japanese since I find it much better. And finally, the last one is the quality of life or call in this game, another aspect that I have speak so many times in this video, so I will summarize on what and why this quality of life in this game is so much better than most gacha games or even normal games. The game focused on two very important aspects, efficiency and swift. ZZZ biggest power is in their combat, so the developer gives so many shortcuts and tries to centralize the menu in game to ensure everything can be accessed as fast as possible so the player will be able to easily get into battle. And that's all from me, folks. Those are my honest feelings of my experience in playing ZZZ. I know a big part of it is me ranting about Genshin. That's just how it goes sometimes in life. Before I end the video, I want to summarize my thoughts of my experience in ZZZ with. I'm very enjoying ZZZ as a full game, and not only as a gacha game. The game is clearly made with the player in mind, as the dev tried to make the player spend as much time as possible playing the game. Almost every aspect of the game is polished to a very high quality, which is rare in this age of the game industry. While many of the players are attracted and play the games due to art and design choice, players still choose to stay and play the game due to the fun content offered in the game. And that's the end for now, folks. Thank you very much for watching my video, and I really appreciate anyone listening and talking with me regarding games. See you next time, bye bye.